Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum. I am your host Faisal Raza and you are watching Foresight. Viewers, on January 29, 2024, United Nations Security Council's Daesh and Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee monitoring team has issued a horrible report. This report has endorsed Pakistan's concerns and apprehensions about Afghanistan becoming the safe haven for the terrorist organizations. Earlier, there were reports that at least 23 terrorist organizations have taken refuge at the Afghan soil, inflicting terrorism upon at least 53 countries, not only in the region but beyond. Now, after this report, it seems that there are more than 23 organizations have the safe havens in Afghanistan, and it looks horrible not only for Pakistan but also for the entire region, because South Asia and Central Asia are at the verge of fallout. Now, question arises, there are lots of questions in fact, that whether Afghanistan wants to be recognized internationally, whether Afghanistan wants direct investment into the country so that all the economic woes must have to end. But unfortunately, despite of all the regional countries insisting Afghanistan to cut its relations with all those terrorist organizations, along with wipe out all those hideouts which are there at the Afghan soil. To talk on this important subject, we have in our studios Hassan Khan. He is the senior journalist. Most welcome to you, Hassan, being here in the studios. Former Ambassador Mansoor Ahmed Khan, who has a very enlightened career and a very seasoned diplomat, joining us online at Skype. Most welcome to you, Mansoor Saab. My first question to you, Hassan, that this United Nations Security Council report again shed a light that Afghan Taliban and Al-Qaeda has a very strong support to the TTP. That is not only a threat to Pakistan but also to the South and Central Asian states, particularly the neighboring countries. How do you see it?
Thank you very much, Faisal, and I think I also welcome Mansoor Ali Khan Saab. He is a very, I think as far as the Afghan issue is concerned, there will be no second person as far as Mansoor Saab is concerned. He is served for the longest period as deputy head of mission and then head of mission in Kabul. So there is a great opportunity to hear him also.
We are fortunate to have him
in
our program, really.
Look, I think this is not something new. These 20+ terrorist networks or syndicates using the Afghan soil are nurturing there. I think this is not a new report. Previously, it's almost the same report which the same committee has previously presented to the UN Security Council Secretary General, and I think this is the same one. Unfortunately, nothing happened on a positive trajectory on Afghan side. Taliban's
it is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Afghan Talibans are squarely refusing. That previously they also refused such reports, and now again yesterday, I think it's today, Zabiullah Mujahid issues a statement and saying that we reject this. He says that it's false and fabricated, etc. It's quite unfortunate. The report is being prepared by the United Nations, a special team, and the teams also include experts and political entities. This is almost 10 members team. 4-5 are the political experts and the others are the security experts. So
and they have got the regional inputs as well.
Yeah, definitely inputs from Pakistan, from Iran, and from. Look at this time a new. For me, it is a new. May not it a new for other. That is the TTT, the 3 Ts.
Yes.
Taliban, Tajikistan. I think it is added to this group now. That it is also flourishing on Afghan soil. So previously, Tajikistan was also complaining of militant infiltration from Afghan soil. And you know, Iran is already concerned about the ISIS and the ISKP, etc. This report again mentioned the ETIM, Eastern Turkestan movement, which is I think about the
and
Chinese
Turkestan Islamic Party as well, and all of
that. So, in Uzbekistan Islamic movement, and this specifically about Al-Qaeda, it says no doubt it is not engaged in operational phase, operational activities. However, it is surviving in Afghanistan. This is very, and certain names are given that who is living in Kunard and who are where in certain guest houses along with the family. So I think this time this report has the distinction that it has given specific things to you, that if Al-Qaeda is there, and about the ISIS, that no doubt, because Afghan Talibans are telling the world that we are being the victim of ISKP, and they say that we are taking action against them. But the report says that yes, they are taking action, but as for their internal attacks are concerned, so definitely Taliban or the Imarat-e-Islami has succeeded in reducing the internal attacks of IS, and they are taking action against them. But as for their foreign land operations are concerned, it's least bother about it. So I think this time it is very specific in a way detailed.
Definitely at this point we'll take Ambassador Mansoor Ahmed. Ambassador Mansoor, when we are talking about Afghanistan, you have served there in Afghanistan, you know the nitty-gritties and how Afghan Taliban are actually behaving. What exactly it means when report says that Daesh attacks minimized in Afghanistan and surge out of Afghanistan or in the region particularly? Means it at least Afghan Taliban manage inside, but as Hassan said, that they are least bothered about what is the spillover effect of the Daesh outside Afghanistan.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this program for a very important discussion. As you know, and as Hassan has also talked about the situation in Afghanistan, I think it is important to recall that these terrorist groups, whether it is Daesh or Al-Qaeda or regional terrorist groups like TTP or ETIM or many other Central Asian groups who have been present in Afghanistan for many years now. Now, before takeover of Taliban, before 15th August 2021, since US and NATO was present here, and since United Nations Security Council was regularly reporting on these groups, NATO's focus and NATO countries' focus was on assisting the then Afghan governments on combating these groups. After the Taliban takeover, Taliban unfortunately have, or Afghan interim government have been engaged in efforts for normalization, for its recognition, for its normalized engagement with the international community, but it has not been successful in fully normalizing its relation with the rest of the world. Now, one of the areas, apart from political inclusivity or apart from human rights issues, one of the key areas of concern for the world as well as the neighboring countries of Afghanistan is how the Afghan interim government takes action against these terrorist groups. Against Daesh, I think since 2021, after taking over power in Afghanistan, Afghan Taliban have taken some very concerted actions because Taliban considers Daesh as an existential threat for themselves, and therefore they have achieved quite a good success in reducing presence of Daesh, although Daesh remains present in Afghanistan in many pockets, but Afghan Taliban remain more alert towards Daesh. When we talk about Afghan Taliban's approach towards other groups, whether it is TTP or there are some other regional groups related to Central Asia or even ETIM, then Afghan Taliban have, or Afghan interim government has a different approach. And that is where Afghan Taliban government is having problems with its neighbors. Not only that, Pakistan has problems with Afghanistan. Afghanistan's northern neighbors, Central Asian countries, are also concerned about these militant groups accumulation or gathering of militant groups near their borders. So I think that is what this report, this latest report of the UN Security Council has also hinted at, or has also indicated that the actions taken by Afghan Taliban or Afghan interim government are not to the satisfaction of the international counter-terrorism requirements, or these actions are not such that they will lead towards Afghan interim government's mainstreaming into the international system. So that is going to remain the main challenge unless and until Afghan interim government evolves a comprehensive approach for dealing with these terrorist groups in coordination with the neighboring countries, including Pakistan, and also ensuring the commitments towards the international community and international organizations like UN. I think they will continue to remain in a stalemate with regard to fighting against the threat.
So, Ambassador Mansoor, when you have rightly mentioned about that when Afghan Taliban took over, and after that they have taken concerted actions against Daesh, but Daesh has a very viable linkages with Al-Qaeda, though that is not much operative there in Afghanistan, but they are giving support to TTP and the umbrella organizations like BLA, BLF, Majid Brigade and all others. So TTP has the allegiance with Afghan Taliban, and they are supporting TTP and others. So how do you see this complex relations in between the terrorist organizations and with the Afghan Interim Authority?
That is actually one of the dilemmas for the Afghan interim government or Taliban leadership, because if they try to take action against the regional groups, the splinter groups from these regional groups who are affected by Taliban's operations, Afghan interim government's operations, counter-terrorism operations, there is a fear and there is a possibility that they are then inclined to joining either Daesh or, as you have said, that Al-Qaeda is also gradually resurging in Afghanistan. So they have a tendency to join Al-Qaeda and maybe other regional groups like IMU or ETIM. So this, creates a dilemma for Afghan Taliban government, Afghan interim government, that if they are going towards more harder actions on some of these groups, then there is a possibility that these groups may be tilted towards joining Al-Qaeda or alliance of Al-Qaeda and some other, Daesh and some other groups in Afghanistan, and that is actually in a way hindering Afghan interim government's progress towards fighting the threat of terrorism comprehensively. But again, the important thing for Afghanistan, I think Afghan government, the setback of Afghan government or the reason for lack of progress of the Afghan government is that Afghan government has not been able to develop bilateral cooperation with most of its neighbors in the field of counter-terrorism. With Pakistan, Afghanistan has a long border, but Afghanistan has not been able to have cooperation with Pakistani authorities and deal with these groups such as BLA or TTP or any other new outfits which are being created in the garb of the TTP or as splinter elements of the TTP. So similar is the case with the Central Asian countries. Central Asian countries, whether it is Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, who have borders with Afghanistan, they remain concerned about the concentration of militants and fighters along their borders in Afghanistan. So I think Afghan interim government will have to go towards a more comprehensive efforts for severing their links with militants group, whether these were TTP or whether these were former elements of Al-Qaeda, and take the same kind of concerted actions as they have shown against Daesh.
Your point well taken, Ambassador Mansoor. Hassan, when we are talking about particularly the banned outfit TTP, they have just launched a new front, that is Tehreek-e-Jihad-e-Pakistan, and that is a group which is giving aid to the Majid Brigade as well, to BLF, BLA, and also launching attacks in Pakistan. How do you see the surge of and multiplication of different terrorist organizations there in Afghanistan?
Look, I think this is very important. I think, most of the organization, more than 21 organizations join hands together, and it's not only those who based on religious narrative. And now those who are the secular, like the Baloch Liberation Army or the Baloch
Liberation Front or BNA,
etc. They have also joined with these networks, with these terror networks, particularly the TTP. Why this Tehreek-e-Jihad of Pakistan? How it comes? I think when Pakistan has repeatedly asked the Afghan Taliban that, look, TTP is in Afghanistan, and Afghan Talibans were unable to deny the presence of TTP on their side. So they come up with a new idea that yes, we can't deny the presence of TTP on Afghan soil, and because most, you know, when the Pakistani delegations were there, so almost 20 plus leaders of the TTP were gathered at Serena. Later on, there were also reports that Maulana Fazl Rahman Sahab was in Kandahar, so the reports were also there. He met with Nur Ali Masood and the other guy. So it means that the TTP is there. So they come up with this new name. This is just a matter of nomenclature. They have changed the name. No, the rest, it is the same, the same, the TTP. Now, I think another important thing which Mansoor Sahab has also pointed it out, that this Taliban excuse of not taking action against network like the TTP, or the TTT, or those terrorist networks which are focusing on the regional countries like Pakistan, Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, etc. That Talibans are telling the world that, look, if we take action against them, so they will join the other net, like the ISKP, they will join it. So that's the reason that we are not disturbing this. So
what about when the report says, the UNSC report clearly says that Al-Qaeda...
But it said the otherwise. That's what I'm coming to the report.
Okay.
The report says the otherwise. This is how Taliban are telling the world that we are not able to take action against this regional network. The reason is that if we take action, they will join the ISIS. But the report says that the Taliban are not are supporting them in a way.
Yes, this is the fact basically.
So that is a very big contradiction which I...
So when Al-Qaeda operatives imparting training and preparing suicide bombers with the training centers, 5 of the provinces like Laghban, Kunnar, Nangarhar, Nuristan and Parwan, there is an active presence of Al-Qaeda madrasas, and also Jamaatul Ahrar has the training camps there. So why they are denying? They are all along Pakistan border.
Look, just a week ago, there was a video from Kandahar. I think it was Kandahar or Helmand, where the TTP, particularly Moli Fakir and the others, they were sitting there, and they were this, and what we call it, Dastar Bandi, was being held. So that was a TTP affiliated madrasa. So the reports also talking about madrasas which are being run, which are being managed by, even they talk about the how Al-Qaeda is funding the Afghan Taliban or the other network. So I think it is quite, as I earlier said, it is quite specific, this report is. But the problem is now how to engage. I think this is not engaging the TTP or the Al-Qaeda. This is convincing what Ambassador Mansoor said, that the Afghan Taliban to have a cooperative agreement with the regional, particularly with the CT counter-terror bilateral arrangement with either Pakistan, with Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, etc. But unfortunately, you know, Afghan Taliban, they have a different approach towards toward the entire issue. Because they fought for almost 20 years, more than that, when they were in 96, when they were in power. Before that, they were also fighting, and then for the whole decade. So it's almost a 30 years plus organization. After coming into power, taking over Kabul in August 2021, they are still behaving as a rural-based jihadic
organization
instead of being responsible,
providing a
state to run a responsible state, instead of just I think protecting these few thousand terrorists, whether it's the TTP terrorists, whether it's Al-Qaeda, whether it's the other ETIM or IMU or TTT. I think they need to focus. Now it's the time for them. Need to focus on the Afghan people. Need to focus on nation building.
But Hassan, unfortunately, they are not focusing.
Unfortunately, that's what I'm saying.
They are not focusing. Ambassador Mansoor, this UN report also shed light on that Afghan Taliban are joining TTP ranks, and they are helping TTP to recruit Afghan citizens, being the fighters or the suicide bombers. And in Pakistan, lots of Afghans who were the suicide bombers here and involved in lots of terrorist activities. And they are not only that, but also Kabul is providing them aid packages, not only to TTP, but also to their families as well. How do you see it?
You know, this has been a dilemma for Pakistan and for Pakistan-Afghanistan relationship that since Afghan Taliban came into power and Pakistan has been taking up very vigorously this issue of elimination of TTP or taking actions by Afghan side against the TTP. Afghan Taliban have come up with explanations that the TTP is a Pakistani issue. Pakistan has to deal with this issue inside Pakistan. Although when we were there in 2022, the TTP, talks with TTP with our security institutions were arranged through Afghan Taliban's offices. So they were the TTP leaders were present in Kabul, and our security institutions or our security officials had negotiations or some talks with them. So I think Taliban have to come out, Afghan Taliban have to come out of this dilemma and have to recognize this problem that if they are supporting TTP in one or the other way, or if they are supporting any other terrorist organizations or terrorist groups which are a threat to any other country or any other neighbor, this is going to affect their stability. I think the larger issue
Ambassador
is
Mansoor,
that
Pakistan once again reiterated its demand that Afghan Interim Authority must have to hand over all those leaders of banned TTP organization, but there is no action. From the last many years, Pakistan is asking for that.
I think the larger issue is that the world at large and the neighbors in particular are asking Afghan Taliban to take action against terrorist groups on their soil. On the other hand, Afghan Taliban's focus is to have normalized engagement with the rest of the world, meaning recognition and meaning that economic restrictions are lifted against them. So I think the solution will be somewhere in between, where, as Hassan has also pointed out, that there should be Afghan interim government should become part of some regional counter-terrorism infrastructure or regional counter-terrorism arrangement where there is cooperation between Afghan interim government and the neighbors with respect to these groups, whether it is TTP or any other group, and the region and the international community should take some steps to lift to remove economic sanctions against Afghanistan, which are affecting common Afghans. So I think if that kind of comprehensive approach is taken, so that security issue is combined with economic issue and also issue of movement of people-to-people movement between the two countries, then I think better progress can be made in dealing with this threat of terrorism which is coming through TTP, BLA or such other groups for Pakistan.
Thank you very much, Mansoor Ahmed Khan sahab, for being with us online and for your time and candid views. Thank you so very much. Hassan, when we are talking about Afghan Talibans and the Security Council report endorses what Pakistan was stressing, that Afghan Taliban are actually the providers of the NATO and US weapons, the latest US weapons to the TTP and the concerted other groups. So how do you see this phenomena?
Look, I think let's talk about the challenge. That what's the challenge? The UN says that Afghanistan soil is being used by the terror network against the regional countries, and there is a threat, there can be a threat to the rest of the region beyond threat is also existing here. So this is, Pakistan is repeatedly saying the same thing. Iran has concerns, Tajikistan has concern, Uzbekistan has, because Uzbekistan Islamic movement has the roots here in Afghanistan, the Tariq Taliban Tajikistan has roots here, ETIM, the Chinese specific, the Pakistan specific, the Iran specific, the Turkmen specific. So the regional countries have also, but how to, I think, get Taliban engaged to have the counter-terror infrastructure, a type of an arrangement, that is a big challenge. I think now Pakistan need to bring certain changes in its approach toward the Kabul, and I think the same shall be done by Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan also, because now it is a big challenge for us how to engage these the Afghan Taliban who are in non-cooperative mood. Unfortunately,
non-cooperative
mood.
When the UNSC report, United Nations Security Council report, says that those 70 to 200 TTP fighters who were in detention in Afghan Taliban, and along with the relocation of those TTP towards north, is basically to avoid Pakistan's pressure, whether it's eyewash.
Definitely it is. How can, look, if you take the TTP men and material from Kunal and you place them in beyond Kabul in Parwan province or Baghlan province, or for that matter in Bagh, these are up in any province, does it mean that they will not come down? It's just a matter of your drive from there, number one. Number two, will they not manage it via their this cellular network, etc.? I think this is not the relocation of the terrorist outfit, or either it is not putting them, put certain elements of them behind the bar. I think who are the people who the Afghan Taliban claims that these 70, 80 people or 200 people, they are the TTP assets. So can you find them a single important name among those, especially those who are managing this entire infrastructure? So the problem, what I was saying, I'm trying to say is that I think Pakistan has to, I think, sharing, I think, bed with the bedfellow, whether you like it or not. Afghanistan is our neighbor. Afghanistan is a neighbor for Iran. Afghanistan is a neighbor for Tajikistan. So now it is, let's engage Kabul, and you have to convince them, rightly said by Ambassador Mansoor, that this counter-terror operations or counter-terror cooperation shall be clubbed with economic development of Afghanistan also. I think this is what I hear.
Definitely, but if Afghan Interim Authority wants
it will be just like alluring the Afghan authorities that yes, we are cooperating them in economic, in trade, in transportation things. They have to go.
Apparently, they are showing.
Yesterday, I was interviewing Prime Minister for Khyber Television, Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Kakar, and he rightly said it that look, Afghan Taliban have to gain too much if they cooperate with Pakistan on these security matters.
Definitely, it's a sheer fact that the caretaker Prime Minister has rightly said on that. We have with us viewers, Brigadier retired Ghazanfar Ali Shah Sahab. Most welcome to you, sir. He is the senior defense analyst. Brigadier retired Ghazanfar Sahab, when we are talking about Afghan Taliban, you must remember that in last year in September there was a fierce attack in Chitral, and during that attack not only TTP but beside them Al-Qaeda was providing them vehicles, at least 15 commanders for the training, and they were giving weapons and all arms ammunition to those TTP fighters or band outfit in association with Afghan Taliban, and this is mentioned in the United Nations Security Council report. How do you shed light on that?
Thank you very much. It's very important, the topic you are conducting right now, because Pakistan has been raising voices right after creation of the Taliban government, when Pakistan worked so much for bringing Taliban back to Afghanistan, and where they had committed in Doha and all other things that their land will not be used for any terrorist activities outside Afghanistan. But unfortunately, because of the insistence of the Haqqanis in Afghan government and their linkages with TTP, the thing has changed completely. And you said about the UN report, which clearly mentions and specifies the weapons also, which we have been seeing and which have been reported after the attack, and they are the sniper rifles, or if you, other than Chitral, if you go back to Panjgur attack, which was on a FC camp at night, there this, along with the sniper rifles, most latest NVGs, night vision goggles, which are used by the American forces, were used in that attack, and target and sniper rifles and rifle shoot were used to point out to the individual standing on the guard or undertaking of that, and the whole of the area was combined in one periscope through which the attack was done. So it was confirmed that the American forces left. Now there are two things which have to be seen, which are not mentioned in the UN report. One is why the Americans left so much of the equipment at a time when the Taliban have not taken over them, but the Taliban had come later and taken over the thing. it means there was an intention in the American intent also.
So do you think that the US has done that deliberately in Afghanistan?
Absolutely. I am 120% concerned, confirmed that it is the CIA which had been playing the whole thing. And now, I mean, you see the Western report. I was seeing an Australian journalist writer, the heading of her article was that the Taliban are now new weapon smugglers in the area. They have set up shops along the roads to sell these weapons to the Taliban, TTP. And now the UN report has confirmed. When we said this thing, nobody believed it. Now, if Taliban are doing it, who are they? You know, Hafiz Gul Bahadur and Sirajuddin Haqqani. And the Haqqani network had a very close interaction with each other. And if you go back to 2003 or 2007 or 2004, in 2007 they had announced, and when the existence of the Baitullah Masood and the existence of TTPs was announced, there was an induction of money not through any other sources but through RAW and CIA. And in 2009 there was a coexistence between Baitullah Masood, Hafiz Gul Bahadur and Malvi Nazir. And not to go back, they had formed a Shura, and that was announced about somewhere in 2014, but the Shura broke out. So all these things which have been going in tribal areas of Pakistan were the offshoots of the Afghan war, or the offshoots of the war when they had recruited people to fight against the Soviets. And there was a training center, there was a recruitment center which was established in Farooq Masjid in New York. So when those people were left here, they started fighting, and now you in UN report, you hear everything that ETIM is there, IMU is there, Al-Shabaab is there.
Yes, Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar, when you have mentioned, just mentioned East Turkestan Islamic Movement and Turkestan Islamic Party, they have just refuge over there in Afghanistan. They are flourishing, they are getting training, they are establishing not only that but also weapon factories over there in Afghanistan. So how do you see, because this is also mentioned in that Security Council report?
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning. That's what I was taking you to. There was another organization which though finished, IMU, which was at the Tahir Yaldo show. And yes, those Uzbeks, if you remember the attack on Jinnah International Airport, so the IM, or if you remember the attack on the PF base, Bada base, Uzbek yes, fighters, and if you remember the attack on PF base at Karachi, at Faisal, the Uzbek yes, fighters were used. What I want to say is that there is a configuration of these terrorists present inside Afghanistan. There had been number of relocations. They say as Mangal Bagh was there, as Hafiz Gul Bahadur was there, and all of those people who are there, they enjoyed very close relationship with Taliban, and now they enjoy very close relationship with the Taliban government. And they are being provided weapons. We were saying that, but nobody believed it. Now the UN has confirmed the type of weapons they are providing.
Yes, definitely. So they have given all types of weapons details also in the report. Your point well taken. Hassan, despite of the Chinese reservations and Chinese concerns regarding ETIM and TIP and all that, we have seen that now ETIM has a close allegiance with TTP, along with Daesh, along with BLA, the Majid Brigade, and that is also involved in the killing of Chinese in Karachi, because, and they are having at least Majid Brigade, like intelligence sharing and all other 60 to 80 suicide bombers, and particularly they are recruiting young blood, particularly the women, the female suicide bombers, as we have witnessed in Karachi University. And unfortunate thing is that they are using social media for that.
Look, Faisal, I think this is a very complex issue. I think it's not that simple. And too, there's a dirty network. This entire terrorist network is called a dirty network. So yes, it also attracts, I think, bad things, like Brigadier mentions, the involvement of RA, the involvement of CIA, involvement of Mossad, the involvement of other intelligence agencies, because when you create an environment where dirty, I think, flies come, so definitely you can't stop the bad things coming there. So unfortunately, this region is now, I think, gravely in being hit by this disease, you call it the terrorists, you call it the militancy, because all shades of terrorist network, as you mentioned, religious, non-religious, territorial, national, etc. So all terror networks, I think they have now giant hands. So it's not something new. The TIP supports TTP, TTP support IMU, IMU support ETIM. For that matter, TTT supports, yes,
they replicate each other.
And Al-Qaeda is then providing an umbrella-like things to all, because Al-Qaeda is more having funding, etc., resourceful, and a very, I think it has a long, I think, bag of working in the entire world, everywhere, in the West and in the East and the South and the North. So this is quite unfortunate, and I think this is a challenge, as I said in my earlier comments, that this is a challenge for this regional countries, the challenge for Pakistan, for Iran, for Turkmenistan, for everyone, the entire Central Asian country. So how to I think meet this challenge is to engage the central, those who are sitting in the center, and the central point is Kabul.
Yes,
so I think this challenge needs to be addressed.
Absolutely right, Hassan. Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar, when we are talking about TTP and Afghan Taliban allegiance with each other, then East Turkestan Islamic Movement and TIP and all that. Now the report also says that ETIM has developed a facility where they have at least developed a Falcon unmanned aerial systems cordon, and along with that, with reconnaissance, suicide and bombing capability. Also they are having lots of multiple rotary wing drones and all that. How do you see this a new emerging threat at the regional countries, particularly Pakistan and China?
Well, first of all, I would like to mention I don't agree with many of the observations in this UN report. And one of the biggest operations which astrays the whole finding is that they say that in view of the October 7 attack on Gaza, the AQ, Al-Qaeda is now a threat to Israel or threat to Europe or threat to all these things. You see, it's been 3-4 months Al-Ghaza is going on. Have you witnessed anybody outside Palestinian getting shaheed there? What has been witnessed is that the Indians, the first soldier killed by the Hamas or Hezbollah was an Indian. So Indians are going to fight, are there to fight against Hamas or against Palestinians. The second thing is in their report they say the chemical and biological weapon. They also said the Osama bin Laden attacked in 9/11. In 9/11, Osama bin Laden was involved and all training going on and everything. Then they said that the Saddam Hussein had the biological weapon, chemical weapons, and the nuclear weapon. And after that, the Churchill Court inquiry, which was conducted by the Britain, which is about a 5,000-page inquiry, it said that Osama bin Hafiz al-Assad Iraq didn't have any nuclear weapon. So there are many loopholes in this report you have seen. And one of the biggest loopholes is the which you are pointing out now, in my opinion. The development of chemical or biological weapon and all these things, the aerial system. You see, in Syria, if you see, or in Iraq, if you see, Syria and Iraq has a very porous border. Where did the ISIL was reported? It was first reported in Iraq when the American forces were attacking Iraq. And how was ISIL created? Has somebody gone into detail and seen it? There are large imprints of the American intelligence agency in creation of Al-Qaeda, in creation of ISIL also. So acquiring the aerial capability, experiencing it somewhere, rehearsing it somewhere, from where does it come? Whatever happened in Gaza, you see the aerial shoots which going on there, were they of military nature, where you see that the Hamas fighters are flying and landing at some places?
So, Brigadier Sahib, do you think it is? It looks something fishy within it, because it seems that someone, the third party, is providing them some sort of aerial support or some sort of sophisticated weapons when it comes to the terrorist organizations within Afghanistan. Do you think so, that it's happening in Afghanistan?
You know, the world, if you study the world weapon racket, so any weapon can be obtained anywhere, because it's not the terrorist only. There are number of high-grade smugglers, narcotics similar drug smugglers who are involved into any of this. Where you have the mafias which are operating, they normally had very sophisticated weapon. And today, I'm telling you, once the Americans left their weapon, those weapons are not only used in Afghanistan, they are being smuggled to outside. Like if you see ETIM, you see Al Qaeda, if you see all those things, though I don't believe that ETM has that significant presence as has been reported and perpetuated in this UN report.
So if you briefly tell us about that, how the terrorist organizations are actually accumulating financial resources, because they are milking financial resources through zakat, extortion, drug trafficking, kidnapping, ransom, dollar smuggling, underground money exchanges, cryptocurrency, gaming platforms and social media. So how do you analyze it, if you tell us briefly?
Yes, I mean, if you very briefly see it, just take the Iraq or compare in Pakistan, in Iran, Pakistan, on Iran-Pakistan border. There is a lot of informal smuggling going on. And all those groups who are involved in the terrorism are involved in the smuggling also, from where they gain money. If you go to Afghanistan, in Afghanistan, Afghanistan is not a central unit. It is divided into tribes, it is divided into areas. Even the vehicles moving from one province to the other province are not today. When there were no tablan, they were taxed by the local chieftains and they used to gain money from out of that. Then there's you said cryptocurrency. There is a smuggling going on. There's a narcotic smuggling going on. And all these things are in the hands of those people. There is another thing you must remember. To gain a terrorist group to gain protection of the high influential people in the area, pays them the money and gets money from them also as extortion. So all these elements, and if I go back to the history of TTP, I would refer it to the place when TTP was created in 2003. TTP did not have any financial resources, but they had the dollars account, and in those days I remember, because I happened to be involved in some of these things, in those things the people who were fighting.
Brigadier Retired Ghazanfar Ali Shah Sahab, thank you very much for your time, because we have run short of time. Thank you very much for your candid views as well. We are really thankful to you. Thank you very much. And Hassan Khan, we are thankful to you as well, being here in the studios. Viewers, as you have listened to our panelists, that the report shows that it's a huge emerging threat for not only for Pakistan but also for the regional countries and for the international community, and it is a dire need that regional countries must have to come closer to each other at a single platform to address this terrorist threat which is emanating from Afghanistan. Along with the international community must have to take their responsibility and took decisive actions, at least at the international law, at the international arena. This is all from today's Foresight. It's time to sign off. Allah Hafiz.